The bathroom door crashed open with such force that the mirror on the wall shook. Jessica stood frozen in the doorway, her military duffel bag still hanging from her shoulder. Her identical twin sister, Emma, was crouched on the cold tile floor, one hand pressed against her swollen cheek, the other clutching the edge of the sink to pull herself up. Blood trickled from Emma's split lip, mixing with tears that streamed down her bruised face. A purple mark was already forming around her left eye, and finger-shaped bruises wrapped around her upper arm like a cruel bracelet. "Emma," Jessica whispered, her voice cracking. Emma's eyes went wide with panic. "Jess, you're not supposed to be here yet. I thought your flight was tomorrow. What happened to your face?" Jessica dropped her bag and rushed forward, her combat boots echoing on the tile. "Who did this to you?" Emma tried to smile, but her split lip made her wince. I fell down the stairs. You know how clumsy I. Don't you dare lie to me." Jessica's hands trembled as she gently touched her sister's chin, tilting her face toward the light. The bruises told a story, a horrible, crystal-clear story. "These are handprints, Em. Someone grabbed you. Someone hit you." Emma's fake smile crumbled. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks as she collapsed against her sister's shoulder. "It was Marcus," she sobbed. "My husband. He's been different lately. Angry all the time. I tried to tell him dinner wasn't ready on time because the oven broke, and he just... Jessica's jaw clenched so tight her teeth hurt. Her green eyes, exactly like Emma's, blazed with a fury that had made enemy soldiers retreat on the battlefield. "How long?" Her voice was dangerously quiet. "How long has this been going on? Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel to support our growth." Emma pulled back, wiping her tears with shaking hands. 6 months, maybe longer. Started small, mean words, pushed dishes off the table. But it got worse. So much worse. She looked down at her trembling fingers. "He used to be so sweet when we were dating. Remember? You were the only one who said you had a bad feeling about him." Jessica remembered. 3 years ago, when Emma brought Marcus home for the first time, Jessica had been on leave from the army. Something about Marcus's smile hadn't reached his eyes. Something about how he'd squeezed Emma's hand just a little too tight when he thought no one was watching. But Emma had been so happy, so in love, and Jessica had kept her worries to herself. "I'm so sorry," Jessica whispered, hugging her sister close. "I should have trusted my instincts. I should have. This isn't your fault." Emma's voice was small, broken. "I'm the one who married him. I'm the one who's been too scared to leave. Let me take you back to where this all started, to help you understand how 2 identical sisters ended up in this moment." Jessica and Emma Turner were born on a snowy December morning, exactly 3 minutes apart. Their mother used to joke that Jessica came out first because she was already trying to protect Emma. Even as babies, Jessica was the bold one, crying louder, reaching for things first, while Emma was gentler, quieter, content to let her twin sister lead the way. Growing up in their small town of Millbrook, people could never tell them apart. They had the same wavy blonde hair that fell to their shoulders, the same bright green eyes, the same splash of freckles across their noses, even the same small birthmark on their left shoulders. They were like 2 reflections in a mirror. But their personalities, those were as different as night and day. Jessica was brave and fierce. She climbed the tallest trees, stood up to bullies, and always spoke her mind. When she was 10 years old, she punched Tommy Crawford in the nose for pulling Emma's hair. She got detention, but Tommy never bothered Emma again. Emma was kind and gentle. She loved painting and reading, baking cookies for the neighbors, and taking care of stray animals. She saw the good in everyone, sometimes even when there wasn't any good to see. When they turned 18, their paths split for the first time in their lives. Jessica joined the army. She wanted to serve her country, to be strong, to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. Her drill sergeant said she was the toughest recruit he'd seen in 15 years. She rose through the ranks quickly, earned medals, led missions that saved lives. Emma went to college for art therapy. She wanted to help children who'd been through trauma, to bring color and hope back into dark places. She was good at it, so good that by the time she was 23, she was running her own program at the local children's hospital. They stayed close despite the distance. Video calls every week, long letters, care packages sent across continents. They were still best friends, still two halves of one whole. Then Emma met Marcus Reed. It was at a hospital fundraiser. Marcus was a successful real estate agent, tall, handsome, charming. He had dark hair that he kept perfectly styled, brown eyes that crinkled when he smiled, and a way of making Emma feel like she was the only person in the room. He bought her drinks, made her laugh, swept her off her feet with expensive dinners and surprise weekend trips. Within 6 months, he proposed with a diamond ring so big it made Emma gasp. Jessica was overseas when Emma called with the news. Through the grainy video connection, Jessica had watched her sister's face glow with happiness, had listened to her gush about how perfect Marcus was, how he wanted to take care of her forever. But Jessica had met Marcus once before the proposal, during a brief leave. They'd had dinner at an Italian restaurant downtown. The whole evening, something had felt off. Marcus had ordered for Emma without asking what she wanted. When Emma mentioned she was thinking about taking a painting class, Marcus had laughed and said, "Why would you need another hobby? You're already busy enough." It sounded like a joke, but his eyes had flashed with something that made Jessica's instincts scream warning. "Emma," Jessica had said later that night when they were alone, "are you sure about this guy? What do you mean?" Emma's smile had faltered. "Don't you like him?" "It's not about whether I like him. It's about, do you feel safe with him? Do you feel like you can be yourself?" "Of course." Emma had laughed, but it sounded forced. "Jess, you're being paranoid. Marcus is wonderful. He loves me." Jessica had wanted to push harder, to make Emma see what she was seeing. But Emma was an adult. Emma deserved to make her own choices. So Jessica had swallowed her concerns, hugged her sister and said, "If he makes you happy, then I'm happy." The wedding happened 4 months later. Jessica was there in her dress uniform, standing as maid of honor, watching Marcus slip the ring on Emma's finger. She'd smiled through the ceremony, danced at the reception, given a toast about true love. But the whole time, that knot of worry in her stomach never went away. For the first year, things seemed fine. Emma would call Jessica bubbling with happiness about the house Marcus bought them, about Sunday brunches and movie nights. Marcus had a good job that paid well. Emma continued her art therapy work. They looked like the perfect couple in all their social media photos. Matching sweaters at Christmas, beach vacations in summer, anniversary dinners at fancy restaurants. But slowly, so slowly that maybe even Emma didn't notice at first, things began to change. The calls got shorter. Emma's smiles in photos started looking strained. When Jessica asked how things were going, Emma's answers became vague. "Fine. Good. Everything's fine." "You don't sound fine," Jessica had said during one call, 6 months ago. "I'm just tired." Emma had rubbed her eyes. "Work's been really stressful. And Marcus has been under a lot of pressure with his sales numbers." "How's Marcus treating you?" A pause. "Too long." "He's fine." "Great. Why wouldn't he be?" "I have to go. Marcus is calling me for dinner." And she'd hung up before Jessica could press further. After that, the calls became even less frequent. Once a week turned into once every 2 weeks. Then once a month. Emma's texts got shorter. Just yes or no or talk later. Jessica's military unit kept her busy, deployed to places she couldn't talk about, doing work that drained every ounce of her energy. But Emma was always in the back of her mind, that worry growing like a shadow. Then, 2 months ago, everything went silent. No calls, no texts, no emails, nothing. Jessica tried everything. She called Emma's phone dozens of times. It would ring and ring, then go to voicemail. She sent texts that showed as delivered, but never read. She even called the hospital where Emma worked, but they said Emma had taken a leave of absence for personal reasons. That's when Jessica's worry turned to fear. She called Marcus. He answered on the first ring, his voice smooth and calm. Jessica, good to hear from you. How's the army treating you? Where's Emma? Jessica had demanded. Why isn't she answering my calls? Oh, Emma's been feeling under the weather. Nothing serious, just a bad flu. She's sleeping a lot, recovering. You know how she gets when she's sick. Doesn't want anyone to see her looking rough. It was a reasonable explanation. But something about Marcus's tone, too casual, too rehearsed, made Jessica's skin crawl. Let me talk to her. Even if she's sick, I just want to hear her voice. She's sleeping right now. How about she calls you back when she's feeling better? Marcus. Listen, Jessica, I appreciate you checking in, but I've got everything under control here. I'm taking good care of your sister. She's in good hands. The way he said good hands made Jessica's blood run cold. I'm coming home, she'd said. My deployment ends in 6 weeks. I want to see Emma. Sure. Emma would love that. We'll plan a nice dinner when you get back. But he'd hung up before Jessica could say another word. Jessica had tried to wait. She really had. She told herself she was being overprotective, that Emma was a grown woman who could handle her own life. Marcus was probably telling the truth about the flu. Emma would call when she felt better. But the silence continued, and the knot in Jessica's stomach twisted tighter. So Jessica did something she'd never done before. She called in a favor. Her commanding officer owed her after she'd saved his life during a mission gone wrong. She asked for emergency leave, claiming a family crisis. 2 days later, she was on a plane home, a full month earlier than expected. She didn't tell Emma she was coming. Something, call it twin intuition, told her not to give warning. She needed to see Emma with her own eyes, without Marcus preparing whatever show he'd put on for visitors. Jessica landed at 2 p.m. on a Thursday. She rented a car and drove straight to the house Emma shared with Marcus. A big, beautiful 2-story home in a nice neighborhood with perfectly trimmed hedges and a shiny black SUV in the driveway. She knocked on the door. No answer. She rang the doorbell. Nothing. Marcus's car was gone. He was probably at work. But Emma should be home. She'd taken a leave of absence from the hospital. Jessica tried the handle. Locked. That's when she remembered the spare key. When Emma and Marcus first moved in, Emma had hidden a spare key under a fake rock near the flower bed, just in case. She told Jessica about it during one of their calls, back when calls were still frequent and happy. Jessica found the rock, found the key, and let herself in. Emma? She called out, stepping into the pristine living room. Everything was spotless, too spotless. Like a show home, not a place where people actually lived. Em, it's me. Are you home? Silence. Jessica walked through the house, her combat boots silent on the expensive hardwood floors. Kitchen, empty. Living room, empty. Den, empty. Then she heard it. A sound from upstairs. Soft crying. Jessica took the stairs 2 at a time. Emma? The crying stopped abruptly. Hello? Who's there? Emma's voice, shaky and scared. It's me. It's Jess. No, you can't be here. You're not supposed to be home yet. You need to leave. You need to. Jessica pushed open the bathroom door. And that's when she saw her sister, bruised and broken on the bathroom floor. Now, standing in that bathroom, Jessica felt a rage building inside her that she'd only felt on the battlefield. But this was different. This was her sister, her twin, the other half of her soul. I'm going to kill him, Jessica said quietly. I'm going to make him pay for every finger he laid on you. No! Emma grabbed Jessica's arm with surprising strength. You can't. If you confront him, if you threaten him, he'll just get angrier. You don't know what he's like when he's angry. He'll. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Jessica took a deep breath, forcing herself to think like a soldier, not an enraged sister. Getting emotional wouldn't help Emma. She needed a plan. When is he coming home? Jessica asked. Emma glanced at the clock on the wall. In about 2 hours. He works until 6. Then he'll be here by 6:30. 2 hours. Jessica's mind raced. An idea began to form, crazy, risky, but it might just work. Does he know I was coming home early? No. I haven't talked to anyone. He took my phone away last week. Emma's voice cracked. Said I was spending too much time on it, neglecting my duties as a wife. Perfect. Marcus didn't know Jessica was back. Jessica looked at her sister, her identical twin. Same height, same face, same everything. Growing up, they used to switch places all the time as a game. Teachers never could tell them apart. Neither could their parents, sometimes. I have an idea, Jessica said slowly. It's crazy, but I think it could work. Emma wiped her tears. What kind of idea? Jessica met her sister's eyes. Eyes exactly like her own. What if I became you, just for a little while? What if we switched places? Emma's eyes went wide. What? Jess, no. You can't. Listen to me. Jessica gripped her sister's shoulders gently, careful of the bruises. He doesn't know I'm home. We look exactly alike. I can pretend to be you, see how he acts, get proof of what he's doing. Then we can go to the police with evidence. Get you out of here safely. He'll know, Emma whispered. He'll be able to tell we switched. Why would he suspect? He thinks you're alone. He thinks you're scared. He has no reason to think your military twin sister is back in town. Ready to kick his? Jessica stopped herself. Ready to protect you. Emma shook her head frantically. It's too dangerous. What if he hurts you? Jessica's smile was cold, sharp, like a knife's edge. I've taken down enemy combatants twice my size. I've survived situations that would make Marcus wet his pants. I can handle one coward who hits women. But, trust me, please, let me do this. Let me protect you like I should have protected you months ago. Emma's lip trembled. Jessica could see her sister warring with herself. Scared but desperate, hopeless but wanting so badly to hope. Finally, Emma nodded. Okay, but promise me you'll be careful. Promise me you won't do anything that'll get you in trouble. Jessica hugged her sister tight. I promise I'll be careful. Now, you need to tell me everything. How does he act? What does he expect? What sets him off? I need to know everything so I can be convincing. For the next hour and a half, Emma told Jessica everything. She described Marcus's routines, his expectations, his triggers. How he liked dinner on the table at exactly 6:45. How he expected Emma to greet him at the door with a smile. How he hated when she spoke without being spoken to first. How he checked her phone, her emails, monitored where she went and who she talked to. The more Emma talked, the angrier Jessica became. But she kept her face calm, nodding, memorizing every detail. They switched clothes. Emma's soft pink sweater and jeans for Jessica's cargo pants and tank top. They styled their hair the same way. Jessica even applied makeup to cover the bruises on Emma's face, so she could go stay at a hotel without attracting attention. There's a holiday in 3 miles from here, Jessica said, handing Emma cash from her wallet. Check in under my name. Keep the lights off. Don't answer the door for anyone except me. I'll text you from your phone when it's safe. Emma clutched the money with shaking hands. What if something goes wrong? Nothing will go wrong. Jessica squeezed her sister's hand. I'm a soldier, Em. This is what I do. I face danger and I win. At 6:15 p.m., Emma slipped out the back door, wearing Jessica's clothes and sunglasses, looking over her shoulder like a hunted animal. Jessica watched her go, then turned back to the house. She had 15 minutes until Marcus came home. 15 minutes to become Emma. 15 minutes to prepare for battle. She went to the kitchen and started preparing dinner. Chicken and rice, Emma had said. Marcus's favorite. Jessica cooked mechanically, her mind not on the food but on what was coming. At exactly 6:28 p.m., she heard Marcus's SUV pull into the driveway. Jessica's heart pounded, but her hands stayed steady. She'd faced enemy fire without flinching. She could do this. The front door opened. Emma? I'm home. Jessica took a deep breath, put on a small, nervous smile, the kind of smile Emma had described wearing, and walked to the hallway. Marcus stood in the doorway, loosening his tie. He was handsome in that polished way. Expensive suit, perfect hair, a smile that probably charmed his clients. But Jessica saw what Emma had learned to see. The hardness in his eyes. The way his smile didn't quite reach them. The slight sneer when he looked at his wife. "Welcome home," Jessica said softly, using Emma's gentle tone. "Dinner will be ready in 10 minutes. Marcus's eyes swept over her, checking, assessing. "You feeling better? You look less pathetic than you did this morning." Jessica's fingers curled into fists behind her back. But she kept smiling. "Yes, much better. Thank you for asking." "Good." Marcus brushed past her toward the living room. "I had a long day. I don't want any drama tonight. Understand?" "Of course." Jessica turned back to the kitchen, her mind racing. This was going to be harder than she thought. Every instinct in her body screamed to confront him, to make him answer for what he'd done to Emma. But she had to be smart. She had to play the role. She had to get proof. So she served dinner at exactly 6:45, just like Emma had said. She sat quietly while Marcus talked about his day, only speaking when he asked her direct questions. She cleared the plates when he was done, washed them while he watched TV. And all the while she waited, because Jessica knew something Marcus didn't know. She wasn't Emma. She wasn't weak. She wasn't scared. And when he made his move, when he revealed the monster Emma had learned to fear, Jessica would be ready. The evening ticked by slowly. Marcus barely looked at her, treating her like a servant in her own home. Every time he barked an order, "Get me a beer. Change the channel. Why is this pillow on the floor?" Jessica complied, biting her tongue, playing the role. But inside, she was memorizing everything. The way he spoke. The way he looked at Emma with such contempt. The way he seemed to enjoy having power over her. At 9:30 p.m., Marcus stood up and stretched. "I'm going to bed. Don't stay up too late." It wasn't a suggestion. It was an order. "I'll be up in a few minutes," Jessica said. Marcus stopped at the bottom of the stairs and turned back. His eyes had changed. Gone was the fake pleasantness from dinner. Now they were cold, calculating. "Actually, come here." Jessica's heartbeat quickened, but she kept her face neutral. "Is something wrong?" "I said come here." His voice dropped lower. "Dangerous." Jessica walked toward him slowly, every muscle in her body coiled and ready. Marcus grabbed her arm, the same arm that bore Emma's bruises. His grip was tight, painful, meant to intimidate. "You've been acting strange tonight," he said quietly. "Different. I don't like different." Jessica looked down at the floor, playing Emma's submission. "I'm sorry. I was just trying to." "Trying to what?" His grip tightened. "Trying to be smart? Trying to think you're better than you are." This was it. This was the moment Emma had warned her about. When Marcus's mask slipped and the monster underneath showed his face. "No," Jessica whispered. You just what?" Marcus's voice rose, and suddenly he shoved her backward. Jessica could have caught herself. She had the reflexes and the training. But Emma wouldn't have caught herself. Emma would have fallen. So Jessica fell, hitting the floor hard, playing the role perfectly. Marcus stood over her, his face twisted with anger. "You're pathetic. Look at you. Can't even stand up straight. Can't do anything right." He raised his hand, and Jessica realized this was the moment. The moment when Marcus would show exactly who he was. The moment she'd been waiting for. But as his hand came down toward her face, something inside Jessica snapped. Jessica's hand shot up faster than a striking snake, catching Marcus's wrist in midair just inches from her face. Her grip was iron-strong, unmovable, nothing like Emma's gentle touch. Marcus's eyes went wide with shock. "What the?" Jessica looked up at him, and for the first time that evening, she let him see her real eyes. Not Emma's frightened, pleading eyes, but Jessica's eyes, cold, furious, filled with the promise of justice. "Hello, Marcus," she said in her own voice. Stronger, harder, nothing like Emma's soft tone. "I think we need to have a conversation about how you treat my sister." Marcus's face went pale. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. And Jessica smiled. a smile that promised consequences, retribution, and an end to Marcus's reign of terror. But what happened next? What did Marcus do when he realized he hadn't been tormenting his wife, but a trained soldier who knew 100 different ways to make him regret his choices? The living room fell into a thick, suffocating silence. Marcus stood frozen, his wrist still trapped in Jessica's iron grip, his face cycling through emotions. Shock, confusion, fear, and then, slowly, rage. "Let go of me," he growled, trying to yank his arm back. But Jessica's hand didn't budge. 6 years of military training, countless hours of combat drills, and pure fury had turned her grip into a steel trap. "Not yet," Jessica said calmly, rising to her feet in one fluid motion. Nothing like the clumsy, fearful movements Emma would have made. She kept holding his wrist, her eyes locked on his face. "First, we're going to talk about what you've been doing to my sister." Marcus's other hand shot forward, aiming for Jessica's throat. But she was ready. She'd been trained for attacks like this. She twisted his captured wrist, using his own momentum against him, and suddenly Marcus was the one stumbling backward, off balance. "Don't," Jessica warned, her voice deadly quiet. "I really don't want to hurt you, Marcus. But I will if I have to. And trust me. I know exactly how much damage I can do to a human body." Marcus steadied himself against the wall, rubbing his wrist. His face had gone from pale to red, veins bulging in his forehead. "Where's Emma? What did you do with her?" "She's safe. That's all you need to know. You had no right." "No right?" Jessica's voice cracked like a whip. "I had no right? You've been beating my sister for months, and you want to talk to me about rights?" Marcus's jaw clenched. "You don't know what you're talking about. Emma is clumsy. She falls. She's accident-prone. Stop lying." Jessica took a step forward, and Marcus actually flinched. Good. Let him feel what Emma had felt. Let him know what it was like to be afraid. "I saw the bruises, Marcus. Handprint-shaped bruises. I saw her split lip, her black eye. I know what you've been doing." Marcus's face twisted into something ugly. "She's my wife. What happens in my house is none of your business. She's my sister." Jessica's hands shook with the effort of not hitting him. "She's my twin, my best friend, the kindest person I've ever known. And you monster, you've been hurting her." "I never hit her first," Marcus spat out. "She provokes me. She doesn't listen. She doesn't do things right. A man can only take so much disrespect in his own home before." "Before what?" Jessica moved closer, and Marcus pressed back against the wall. "Before you think it's okay to use your fists? Before you think it's acceptable to terrorize someone half your strength? That's not a man, Marcus. That's a coward." Marcus's eyes darted toward the front door, then back to Jessica. She could see him calculating, trying to figure out his next move. "You can't prove anything," he said, his voice taking on a different tone. Smooth, manipulative, the voice he probably used to close real estate deals. "Emma won't testify against me. She loves me. She understands that sometimes marriage is difficult. That sometimes. She's terrified of you." Jessica cut him off. "She's been living in fear for months. Maybe longer. You took her phone away. You isolated her from her friends, her family. You made her quit the job she loved. That's not love, Marcus. That's control. That's abuse. You can't understand our relationship. You're always gone playing soldier. You don't know what it's like to what? To be in a real relationship? To treat your partner with respect." Jessica laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You're right. I don't know what it's like to hit someone I claim to love. I don't know what it's like to be such a pathetic excuse for a human being that the only way I can feel powerful is by hurting someone weaker than me." Marcus's fake composure cracked. "Watch your mouth. Or what? You'll hit me?" Jessica spread her arms wide. "Go ahead. Try it. But fair warning. I'm not Emma. I'm not going to curl up on the floor and take it. I'm going to hit back. Hard." For a long moment, they stared at each other. Jessica could see Marcus's mind working, trying to find an angle, a way to regain control of the situation. Then his expression changed. His shoulders relaxed slightly. A cold smile spread across his face. "Okay," he said quietly. "You want to play hero? Fine. Call the police. Tell them what you think I did. But here's the thing, Jessica. I'm a respected businessman in this community. I have friends on the city council, clients who are lawyers and judges. I've never been arrested, never even gotten a speeding ticket." He pushed off from the wall, straightening his tie. Emma, on the other hand, has been seeing a therapist for depression. She's been on medication. She's taken leaves of absence from work. And when the police ask her what happened, because they will ask her, do you really think she'll tell them the truth? Or do you think she'll say exactly what I tell her to say? Jessica's blood ran cold. This was worse than she thought. Marcus wasn't just violent, he was smart, calculating. He'd been building his defense for months, maybe years. "You've isolated her on purpose," Jessica breathed. "The therapy, the medication, you pushed her until she needed those things, then used them to make her look unstable." Marcus shrugged. "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just a concerned husband trying to take care of his mentally struggling wife." "You're a sociopath. Prove it." Marcus's smile widened. "But you can't, can you? Because it's her word against mine. And my word carries a lot more weight in this town." Jessica felt a wave of despair wash over her. He was right. Without hard evidence, without Emma willing to testify, it would be nearly impossible to make charges stick. Abusers like Marcus were experts at covering their tracks. But then she remembered something. Something Emma had said during their conversation in the bathroom. "He records everything. He has cameras inside the house. He says it's for security, but I think he uses them to watch me, to make sure I'm doing what he says." Cameras. Marcus had installed security cameras throughout the house. Jessica kept her face neutral, not wanting to give away her thoughts. "You're right," she said slowly. "Maybe the police won't believe me. Maybe Emma is too scared to testify." Marcus's smile turned triumphant. "Smart girl. So why don't you tell Emma to come home, and we can forget this whole thing ever?" "But I wonder," Jessica continued, her eyes drifting to the corner of the living room where a small black camera was mounted near the ceiling, "what those security cameras of yours might have recorded over the past few months." Marcus's smile faltered. "Emma told me you installed them everywhere. Kitchen, living room, hallways. For security purposes, you said." Jessica pulled out Emma's phone, the one Marcus had confiscated, the one Emma had hidden in a bathroom drawer before she left. "I bet they save footage to the cloud. And I bet Emma, as your wife, has access to that footage." Marcus's face went white. "You can't, those are my cameras. That's my private property." "Joint property," Jessica corrected. "You're married. What's yours is Emma's, legally speaking. And I'm sure a lawyer would love to review footage of you shoving her against walls, grabbing her, hitting her." She unlocked Emma's phone. Emma had given her the passcode and started scrolling through the apps. There it was, Home Safe Security. She opened it. "Don't you dare!" Marcus lunged forward, trying to grab the phone. But Jessica sidestepped him easily, years of combat training making her movements smooth and efficient. "Touch me again," she warned, "and I'll add assault to the list of charges Emma's going to file." Marcus stopped, his chest heaving with anger and fear. "Those cameras are password protected. You'll never." Jessica typed in a password. The same password Emma had told her Marcus used for everything. His mother's maiden name plus the year he graduated high school. Marcus wasn't as smart as he thought he was. The app opened, showing a grid of camera feeds throughout the house. And there, in the corner of the screen, was a recorded history button. "Let's see what we have here," Jessica murmured, tapping the button. The screen filled with dates and timestamps. Hundreds of recordings going back months. Jessica randomly selected one from 3 weeks ago, titled, "Kitchen, 8:47 p.m. The video played. Emma's voice came through the phone speaker, small and scared. "I'm sorry, Marcus. I didn't mean to burn the chicken. The oven temperature was wrong. And slap." The sound echoed through the phone. On the screen, Marcus's hand connected with Emma's face. I don't want to hear your excuses, Video Marcus shouted. How hard is it to cook a simple meal? Are you really that stupid? Emma was crying, holding her reddening cheek. Please, I'll make something else. I can order takeout. And waste more money? You're useless. Another slap. Jessica felt tears burning in her eyes, but she kept her voice steady. That's assault, Marcus. Clear as day. Marcus's hands were shaking now. She was being difficult. She needed to be taught. Let's check another one. Jessica scrolled through the recordings. There were so many. Too many. She selected one from a month ago. This time it was the living room. Emma was sitting on the couch, looking at her phone. Marcus stormed in, yanked the phone from her hands. Who were you texting? Video Marcus demanded. Just my friend Sarah. She wanted to meet for. I told you I don't want you seeing Sarah anymore. She puts ideas in your head. Makes you think you can disrespect me. Marcus. She's my friend. Video Marcus grabbed Emma by the hair, yanking her head back. When I tell you to do something, you do it. Understand? Emma whimpered. Yes, I'm sorry. I understand. Jessica's hands were shaking so hard she could barely hold the phone. She looked up at Marcus, the real Marcus, standing in front of her, and saw something she'd seen before. On enemy combatants right before they surrendered. On criminals when they realized they'd been caught. Fear. Pure, genuine fear. I could go to the police right now, Jessica said quietly. With this phone. With these recordings. With photos of Emma's bruises from today. And you would go to jail, Marcus. Not might. Would. Marcus's jaw worked, but no words came out. But I'm not going to do that. Not yet. Jessica pocketed the phone. Because I want to give you a chance to feel what Emma felt. What are you talking about? Jessica smiled, cold and sharp. For the next 24 hours, you're going to be scared. You're going to wonder when the police are coming. You're going to jump every time you hear a siren. You're going to feel your stomach twist into knots, wondering when your whole life is going to come crashing down. She took a step closer. Marcus tried to back up, but he was already against the wall. You're going to understand what it's like to feel helpless, to feel trapped, to know that someone bigger and stronger than you has complete control over your life. This is blackmail. No, this is justice. Jessica's voice was ice. And here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow morning, you're going to pack a bag. You're going to leave this house, Emma's house now, and you're going to check into a hotel. You're going to call a divorce lawyer and start the process of dissolving this marriage. And you're going to agree to give Emma everything. The house, the cars, the bank accounts. Everything. Like hell I will. Or, Jessica continued, I go to the police tonight. With the videos. With the photos. With Emma's testimony. And you don't just lose everything, you go to prison. Where I'm sure the other inmates will be very interested to hear about a man who beats up women. Marcus's face went through a series of expressions. Anger, denial, bargaining, and finally, defeat. You can't prove I won't just come back, he said weakly. You can't watch me every second. When you leave, when you go back to your military life, I can. If you ever, and I mean ever, come near my sister again, Jessica interrupted, her voice dropping to a deadly whisper. I will destroy you. Not legally. Not through the courts. I will personally make sure you regret it for the rest of your life. And trust me, Marcus, I know things that would make your worst nightmares look like pleasant dreams. She wasn't bluffing. She'd been trained in methods she'd never use on an innocent person. But Marcus had forfeited his right to mercy. Do we understand each other? Marcus swallowed hard. Nodded. Say it. We understand each other. Good. Jessica pulled out Emma's phone again. Now, I'm going to sit here and watch every single one of these recordings. All of them. And you're going to sit in that chair. She pointed to a wooden chair in the corner. And you're going to watch them with me. You're going to see what you did. Really see it. No. I'm not going to. Yes, you are. Because if you leave this room, if you try to run, I'm calling the police right now. Your choice. Marcus looked at the door. looked at Jessica, looked at the phone in her hand with all his crimes saved in digital memory. Then slowly he walked to the chair and sat down. For the next 3 hours, Jessica played video after video. Kitchen incidents where Marcus screamed at Emma for overcooking pasta, for buying the wrong brand of coffee, for putting his dishes in the dishwasher wrong. Living room confrontations where he accused her of being lazy, stupid, worthless. Bedroom footage where he berated her for not being attractive enough, for not satisfying him, for having the audacity to be tired after working all day. And worse, so much worse, videos of him shoving her into walls, throwing things at her, grabbing her throat, pulling her hair, slapping her face again and again while she cried and apologized for things that weren't her fault. Every video Marcus tried to look away, but Jessica wouldn't let him. "Watch it," she commanded. "Watch what you did to her." By the 10th video, Marcus was pale and sweating. By the 20th, he was shaking. By the 30th, tears were running down his face. "I didn't mean," he whispered. "I never meant for it to get so bad. I just got so angry, and she wouldn't listen, and there is no excuse." Jessica's voice was hard as stone. "Nothing Emma did or didn't do justifies any of this. You had a choice. Every single time you had a choice, and you chose violence." They watched video after video. Marcus's entire reign of terror, laid bare in high definition. Finally, at 1:30 in the morning, Jessica stopped. She'd seen enough. More than enough. Marcus sat slumped in the chair, his expensive suit wrinkled, his face wet with tears that Jessica had zero sympathy for. "Here's what happens now," Jessica said. "You're going to write a confession. Every incident you can remember. Every time you hit her, grabbed her, hurt her. You're going to write it all down and sign it." "I can't. That would be admitting." "You already admitted it. It's on camera. This is just insurance." Marcus stared at the floor. "And if I do this? If I give Emma the divorce? Give her everything? Write the confession? You won't go to the police?" "I won't go to the police," Jessica confirmed. "As long as you stay away from Emma. As long as you never try to contact her. Never try to win her back. Never come within 100 feet of her ever again." She leaned forward. "But if you break that promise, if I hear that you've texted her, called her, driven past her house, anything, I send everything to the police. The videos, the confession, all of it. Deal?" Marcus sat silent for a long moment. Then finally he nodded. "Deal." Jessica handed him a pen and paper. For the next hour, Marcus wrote. His hand shook, but he wrote it all. 6 pages of confession, detailing months of abuse. He signed it at the bottom, dated it. Jessica took the paper, folded it carefully, and put it in her pocket. "Now go pack a bag," she said. "You're leaving. Tonight. It's almost 3 in the morning. I don't care." Jessica stood up, towering over him even though they were almost the same height. "You leave now or I call the police. Your choice." Marcus stood on shaky legs and climbed the stairs to the bedroom. Jessica followed, making sure he didn't try anything stupid. He packed a suitcase with clothes, toiletries, his laptop. Jessica watched his every move, her body positioned between him and the door in case he tried to run or attack. 15 minutes later, Marcus stood at the front door with his suitcase, looking smaller somehow, defeated. "I loved her," he said quietly. "I know you don't believe me, but I did love Emma. I don't know what happened to me." "You became exactly who you always were," Jessica replied. "Emma just didn't see it until it was too late. But she sees it now. And she's never going to let you hurt her again." Marcus opened the door, then paused. "Take care of her. I always have. Now get out." Marcus walked to his SUV, threw his suitcase in the back, and drove away into the dark night. Jessica watched until his taillights disappeared around the corner. Then, finally, she allowed herself to breathe. Jessica locked the door, set the alarm, and pulled out her phone. She called Emma's number, the number that would reach Emma at the hotel. Emma answered on the first ring. "Jess? Are you okay? What happened? Did he?" "I'm fine," Jessica assured her. And he's gone. He packed a bag and left. He's not coming back. She heard Emma sob on the other end of the line. Not sad sobs. Relief sobs. It's really over? Emma whispered. Not completely. There's still the divorce to finalize, legal stuff to work through. But the hard part, the scary part, that's over. You're safe now. I don't know how to thank you. I don't know how. You don't have to thank me. You're my sister. My twin. I would do anything for you. Anything. They talked for another 20 minutes. Jessica told her about the security camera footage, about Marcus's confession, about the deal they'd made. She explained that Emma could come home tomorrow, that the house was hers now, that she never had to be afraid again. When they finally hung up, Jessica wandered through the house. Emma's house. It was beautiful, expensive, perfectly decorated. But it had been a prison. Not anymore. Jessica made sure all the doors and windows were locked, then curled up on the couch with a blanket. She was too wired to sleep, too full of adrenaline from the confrontation. She thought about Emma, sweet, gentle Emma who saw the good in everyone, who'd tried so hard to make her marriage work, who'd suffered in silence for months because she'd been too ashamed to ask for help. Never again. Jessica would make sure of that. As the sun started to rise, painting the sky pink and orange, Jessica finally closed her eyes. Jessica woke to the sound of pounding on the door. She jerked upright, momentarily disoriented. Sunlight streamed through the windows. The clock on the wall read 11:47 a.m. She'd slept for hours. The pounding came again. Bang, bang, bang. Emma! Emma! Open the door. I know you're in there. Jessica's blood went cold. That was Marcus's voice. She got up and moved to the window, peeking through the curtains carefully. Sure enough, Marcus's black SUV was in the driveway. And Marcus himself was on the front porch, pounding on the door, his face red with anger. What was he doing here? He'd agreed to leave. He'd signed the confession. He'd driven away. Jessica's mind raced. She pulled out her phone and started recording video, capturing audio of Marcus shouting. I know you're listening, Emma. We need to talk. You can't just kick me out of my own house. You can't just. Jessica opened the door. Marcus's fist stopped mid-pound. He stared at her, and Jessica saw the exact moment he remembered that he wasn't dealing with Emma. You, he spat. Me, Jessica confirmed, holding her phone up so he could see she was recording. What part of stay away from Emma did you not understand? This is my house. Marcus's voice was shaking with rage. You can't just force me out of my own property. I've been up all night thinking about this, and I've decided. I'm not leaving. Emma is my wife. This is my home, and you can't do anything about it. Jessica's jaw tightened. We had a deal. Deals can be broken. Marcus crossed his arms. I talked to a lawyer this morning. He says that confession you made me write is not legally valid. It was signed under duress. And those camera recordings? That's my security system, my property. I can claim they were edited, or taken out of context, or you can go to prison, Jessica interrupted. Because that's where you're heading if you don't turn around and leave right now. You're bluffing. If you were really going to call the police, you would have done it last night. Marcus smiled, but it was ugly, vicious. You wanted to be the hero, to save your sister, to let me off easy. Well, I don't need your mercy. I'm staying in my house. And if Emma has a problem with that, she can take it up with me herself. He pushed past Jessica, trying to force his way into the house. That was a mistake. Jessica's training took over. She grabbed Marcus's arm, twisted it behind his back, and had him on his knees on the front porch in less than 3 seconds. Let me go, Marcus shouted, trying to break free. But Jessica's hold was perfect, taught to her by the best military instructors in the world. You just assaulted me? Jessica said calmly, still recording with her other hand. I have it on video. You forced your way into a home you no longer have any right to enter. That's breaking and entering. And you violated the agreement we made last night. That wasn't a legally binding agreement. No, but the restraining order Emma is filing today will be. And this video of you trying to force your way into her home? That'll make sure the judge grants it. Jessica pulled out her phone with her free hand, keeping Marcus restrained with the other. She dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? Hi, my name is Jessica Turner. I'm at 4782 Maple Grove Lane. My sister's husband just tried to force his way into her home against her will. He's been physically abusive to her for months, and we need police assistance immediately. Ma'am, is anyone in immediate danger? Not anymore. I have him restrained. But please send officers right away. Units are being dispatched now. Please stay on the line. Marcus struggled harder. You're lying. I never forced my way in. You attacked me. This is assault. Jessica held up her phone, showing the screen that was still recording video. Say that again, Marcus. Real loud. For the camera. Marcus's face went pale as he realized what he'd done. He'd fallen right into the trap. He'd come back, threatening and aggressive, giving Jessica all the evidence she needed. Please, he whispered. Please don't do this. I'll lose everything. My reputation, my business, You should have thought about that before you came back. Jessica's voice was cold. You had a chance to walk away, to do the right thing, but you just couldn't help yourself. Could you? You couldn't stand the idea of losing control. In the distance, sirens wailed. Marcus started crying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them I just wanted to talk to my wife. Your wife who you've been beating for months? That wife. Jessica shook her head. No. You're done, Marcus. This ends now. 2 police cars pulled up in front of the house. 4 officers got out, hands on their weapons as they assessed the situation. Ma'am, I'm Officer Davis. One of them called out. Are you the one who called? Yes, sir. Jessica Turner. This is Marcus Reed. He's been abusing my sister, Emma Reed, for several months. I have video evidence on this phone showing him attempting to force entry into this residence after being asked to leave last night. Officer Davis and his partner approached carefully. Sir, I need you to stay calm. We're going to ask the lady to release you, and then we're going to have a conversation. Can you do that? Marcus nodded, defeated. Jessica released her hold, stepping back as the officers took over. They pulled Marcus to his feet, checking him for weapons. Ma'am, can we see that video evidence? Officer Davis asked. Jessica handed over her phone, showing them the recording of Marcus pounding on the door, shouting, trying to push his way inside. Then she showed them Emma's phone with the security camera footage. Just a sample, a few of the worst incidents. Officer Davis's face grew harder with each video. His partner, Officer Chun, shook her head in disgust. Mr. Reed, you're under arrest for assault, domestic violence, and attempted breaking and entering, Officer Davis said, pulling out handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. As they read Marcus's rights, Marcus looked at Jessica with pure hatred in his eyes. This isn't over, he hissed. I'll get out. I have lawyers. I have money. And when you do, you'll stay the hell away from Emma, Jessica finished. Because if you ever come near my sister again, I won't call the police next time. I'll handle it myself. And you really, really don't want that. Officer Chun led Marcus to the police car, putting him in the back seat. He sat there, handcuffed, all his power and control stripped away. Officer Davis stayed behind to take Jessica's statement. She told him everything about finding Emma bruised, about the months of abuse, about the security camera evidence. She offered to send him all the videos. Your sister will need to file a formal report, Officer Davis explained, and she'll probably need to testify if this goes to trial. Will she be willing to do that? Yes, Jessica said confidently. She's scared, but she's also done being silent. She's ready to fight back. Officer Davis nodded approvingly. You did good today, ma'am. A lot of people would have just called us last night. But by getting his confession, by documenting everything, by being smart about this, you made the case airtight. He's going away for a long time. After the police left, Jessica called Emma. It's done, she said when Emma answered. Marcus came back. He tried to force his way in. The police arrested him. It's really, truly over now. Emma's voice was shaking but strong. Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know what I would have done without you. You never have to find out. I'm always going to be here for you. Always. As the day went on, Jessica cleaned up the house, making it feel less like Marcus's prison and more like Emma's home. She threw out his things that he'd left behind. His favorite chair that Emma had never been allowed to sit in, his golf trophies that he'd made Emma dust every week, his photos on the walls. She was in the middle of repainting the bedroom. Emma had mentioned she'd always wanted it to be light blue instead of the dark gray Marcus insisted on. When the doorbell rang, Jessica set down the paintbrush and went to the door, checking the peephole first. A woman stood on the porch. She looked to be in her mid-30s, with dark hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, wearing business casual clothes and carrying a leather briefcase. Jessica opened the door cautiously. Can I help you? The woman smiled. Hi, I'm looking for Emma Reed. I'm Sarah Chin. Emma and I used to work together at the Children's Hospital before she left. Sarah, the friend Marcus had forbidden Emma to see. Emma's not here right now, Jessica said. But I'm her sister, Jessica. Would you like to come in? Sarah hesitated, glancing behind her nervously. Is Marcus home? No, and he won't be coming home. Ever. Sarah's eyes widened. What do you mean? Jessica invited her in and told her everything. About finding Emma bruised, about the confrontation with Marcus, about his arrest this morning. By the end, Sarah was crying. I knew something was wrong, she said, wiping her eyes. Emma stopped answering my calls months ago. When I tried to visit, Marcus would always answer the door and say she was sleeping or sick or busy. I tried to push, but he made it very clear I wasn't welcome. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through old messages. Look, these are the last texts Emma sent me. Jessica looked at the screen. Emma, 6 months ago. I'm sorry, Sarah. Marcus says I need to focus more on being a good wife and less on outside friendships. I think it's best if we take a break from talking. Sarah, 6 months ago, Emma. That doesn't sound like you. Are you okay? Can we meet for coffee? Emma, 6 months ago, I'm fine. Please respect my decision. There were no more messages after that. That wasn't Emma texting, Jessica said quietly. That was Marcus using her phone. Sarah's face crumpled. I should have known. I should have done something. You tried. He blocked you at every turn. This isn't your fault. Jessica squeezed Sarah's hand. But Emma's going to need friends now. Good friends who'll support her through what comes next. Are you still interested in being that friend? Of course, Sarah said immediately. Absolutely. Whatever Emma needs. They talked for another hour. Sarah shared stories about Emma at work. How good she was with the kids. How her art therapy program had helped so many children work through their trauma. How everyone at the hospital had been heartbroken when Emma suddenly quit. Marcus made her quit, Jessica realized. He didn't want her having her own life, her own success. He wanted her dependent on him. What a monster, Sarah whispered. When Sarah finally left, she hugged Jessica tight. Thank you for saving her. Thank you for being brave enough to do what needed to be done. After Sarah left, Jessica went back to painting. As she rolled the soft blue paint over the dark gray walls, transforming the room into something peaceful and Emma's own, she felt a sense of satisfaction. Marcus was gone. Emma was safe. And slowly, piece by piece, Emma would rebuild her life into something beautiful. Jessica was cleaning up the paint supplies when her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You think this is over? You think putting Marcus in jail fixes everything? You have no idea what you've started. Marcus has friends. Powerful friends. And they don't like people who make trouble. Watch your back, soldier girl. You and your sister are going to regret this. Jessica's blood ran cold. She immediately tried to call back the number, but it went straight to a disconnected message. Someone was threatening them. Someone connected to Marcus. But who? And how far were they willing to go? Jessica looked out the window at the peaceful suburban street, suddenly seeing threats in every shadow. She'd thought taking down Marcus was the end of the battle. But what if it was only the beginning? Jessica stared at the threatening text message, her military training kicking in immediately. She took a screenshot, then forwarded it to Officer Davis along with a brief explanation. Within minutes, he called her back. "Ms. Turner, we're taking this threat seriously," Officer Davis said. "I'm sending a patrol car to circle the neighborhood every hour. In the meantime, don't go anywhere alone and keep your doors locked." "Thank you, officer. Do you have any idea who might have sent it?" "Marcus made his one phone call from the station this morning. We're checking to see who he contacted. I'll keep you updated." After hanging up, Jessica immediately called Emma. "Don't come home yet. Stay at the hotel. I'll explain everything when I see you." "Jess, you're scaring me. What's going on?" "Just trust me. I'm coming to you right now." Jessica grabbed her keys, checked that Emma's security system was armed, and headed to her rental car. As she drove through the quiet suburban streets toward the hotel, she kept checking her rearview mirror, looking for anyone following her. Nothing seemed out of place, but that text message had put her on high alert. 20 minutes later, Jessica knocked on Emma's hotel room door. "It's me." Emma opened the door, and for the first time in months, Jessica saw something different in her sister's eyes. Not fear, not defeat, but a quiet, growing strength. They hugged, and Emma held on tight. "I heard about Marcus being arrested. Sarah called me. She got my new number from the hospital records." "Sarah came by the house," Jessica said, closing the door behind her. "She wants to be there for you. She never stopped caring." Emma's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. "I missed her so much. Marcus made me cut off everyone. But now," she took a shaky breath, "now I can have my life back." Jessica hated to ruin the moment, but Emma needed to know. She showed her the threatening text message. Emma's face went pale. "Who would send this? Who else knows what happened?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out." Jessica sat on the edge of the bed. "Marcus called someone from the police station. Officer Davis is tracking it down. But I need you to think. Did Marcus ever mention having powerful friends? People who might try to protect him?" Emma was quiet for a long moment, her brow furrowed in concentration. "There was someone," she said slowly, "a man named Richard Boswell. He and Marcus were friends from college. Richard is a lawyer, a really successful one. He handles cases for wealthy clients, helps them get out of trouble." Jessica's instincts tingled. "Did Marcus and Richard stay close?" "Very close. Richard came to our house for dinner every few months. He was always nice to me, but—" Emma paused, thinking. There was something about the way he and Marcus would talk sometimes, like they were sharing private jokes. "And once, I overheard them in Marcus's study talking about handling a problem with one of Richard's clients. The way they talked, it sounded like they were covering something up. Do you think Richard would threaten us to protect Marcus?" "Maybe. Richard always said lawyers do whatever it takes for their clients. And Marcus is his friend." Emma's hands trembled slightly. "But Jess, if Richard is involved, this could get really complicated. He knows the legal system inside and out. He knows how to manipulate things." Jessica pulled out her phone and did a quick search. "Richard Boswell, attorney at law. Here he is. Boswell and Associates. High-powered defense attorney. Has represented several controversial clients who all somehow avoided serious jail time." She scrolled through news articles. "Look at this. 3 years ago, he defended a CEO accused of embezzlement. Case was dismissed on a technicality. 2 years ago, a city council member charged with bribery. Charges dropped due to insufficient evidence. Last year, a businessman accused of fraud. Settled out of court with a sealed agreement." "That's Richard," Emma confirmed. Marcus always bragged about how Richard could make any problem disappear. Jessica's jaw tightened. "Well, Marcus's problem isn't disappearing. And neither are we." As if on cue, Jessica's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered, putting it on speaker so Emma could hear. "Jessica Turner?" A smooth, confident male voice. "Who is this?" My name is Richard Boswell. I'm Marcus Reed's attorney and friend. I believe we need to talk. Jessica's eyes met Emma's. I have nothing to say to you, Mr. Boswell. Please call me Richard. And I think you do have something to say to me. Or rather, I have something to say to you. His voice remained calm, almost friendly. I understand there was an unfortunate incident this morning with my client. I've reviewed the situation, and I believe there's been a significant misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. Marcus abused my sister for months. He was arrested trying to force his way into her home after being told to leave. It's all on video. Ah yes, the videos. Richard's tone didn't change. I've been informed about those. Here's the thing, Jessica, and I hope you don't mind me calling you Jessica. Those videos were recorded without proper consent. They were obtained from a private security system under circumstances that could be considered coercion. Any decent judge would rule them inadmissible. Marcus installed those cameras himself. Emma has every right to access them as his wife. That's debatable. But let's not argue legal technicalities over the phone. Richard paused. I'm calling to make you an offer. A generous one. Marcus is willing to give Emma an uncontested divorce. He'll sign over the house, half the bank accounts, everything she wants. In exchange, you drop all charges and destroy the video evidence. Absolutely not. Jessica, please think about what you're doing. Taking this to trial will be expensive, exhausting, and emotionally devastating for Emma. My client will mount a vigorous defense. We'll bring in character witnesses who'll testify that Marcus is a respected businessman who never showed any signs of violence. We'll suggest that Emma's mental health struggles, her depression, her anxiety medication, indicate she may have been unstable, perhaps even self-harming. Jessica's hands clenched into fists. You would victim blame Emma in court? Make her relive her trauma while you paint her as crazy? I would do my job, Richard said simply. I would defend my client with every tool at my disposal. It's not personal, Jessica. It's the law. And I'm very, very good at my job. Emma was shaking, tears streaming down her face. Jessica put a protective arm around her sister's shoulders. We're not backing down, Jessica said firmly. Marcus is guilty. The evidence is overwhelming. And no amount of legal maneuvering will change that. That's disappointing. Richard's voice cooled slightly. I had hoped we could resolve this amicably. But if you insist on pursuing this, you should know that things are going to get very difficult for you and Emma. Legal battles can destroy lives, Jessica. They can bankrupt families, ruin reputations, expose every private detail to public scrutiny. Is that a threat, Mr. Boswell? It's a reality. I'm simply trying to help you understand what you're getting into. He paused. Did you receive a text message earlier? From an unknown number. Jessica's blood ran cold. That was you. Not me personally. But I may have mentioned to some mutual acquaintances that Marcus's situation was complicated by outside interference. Some of these acquaintances can be overly protective of their friends. I apologize if anyone overstepped. You had someone threaten us. I had nothing to do with any threats. But I will say this, Marcus has friends who care about him. Friends who don't appreciate seeing him railroaded by false accusations. It would be in everyone's best interest if the situation could be resolved quickly and quietly. Emma grabbed the phone from Jessica. Mr. Boswell, this is Emma Reed. I want you to listen very carefully. Your friend, your client, beat me. He terrorized me. He isolated me from everyone I loved and made me feel like I was worthless. And you want me to just let him walk away? Pretend it never happened. Her voice, usually so soft and gentle, was shaking with rage. No, I won't do it. I'm done being silent. I'm done being scared. Marcus is going to face consequences for what he did, and no fancy lawyer is going to change that. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Mrs. Reed, Richard finally said, his voice softer now. I understand you're upset, but please think about what's best for you. A trial will be brutal. The defense will tear apart every aspect of your life. Your therapy records, your medical history, your relationships, everything will be examined and questioned. Are you really prepared for that? Yes, Emma said, her voice steady now. Because telling the truth is more important than protecting myself from embarrassment. Other women need to know they can fight back. They need to know that men like Marcus don't get away with it. Another long pause. I see. Richard's tone was unreadable. Then I suppose we'll see each other in court. But Emma, Jessica, I strongly encourage you to reconsider. You have 24 hours. After that, the offer is off the table and this becomes a war. He hung up. Jessica and Emma sat in stunned silence. Did I do the right thing? Emma whispered. Maybe we should have taken the deal. Maybe I'm not strong enough for a trial. You're strong enough, Jessica said firmly, hugging her sister close. Did you hear yourself? You were incredible. You stood up to a man whose whole job is intimidating people. You were brave and powerful and everything Marcus said you weren't. Emma wiped her eyes. I'm so tired of being scared. Then we stop being scared. We fight back. Together. The next morning, Jessica woke early in the hotel room. Emma was still sleeping, finally getting real rest for the first time in months. Jessica quietly grabbed her laptop and started doing research. If Richard Boswell was Marcus's defense attorney, she needed to know everything about him. His cases, his tactics, his weaknesses. She spent 3 hours reading court transcripts, news articles, legal blogs. Richard was exactly what he'd claimed to be: brilliant, ruthless, and very successful. He had a reputation for taking cases other lawyers wouldn't touch and somehow winning them. But as Jessica dug deeper, she found something interesting. 5 years ago, Richard had been investigated by the State Bar Association for allegedly coaching a witness to lie in a murder trial. The investigation was dropped due to lack of evidence, but several legal experts had written articles suggesting Richard operated in ethical gray areas. Jessica made notes, building a profile. Richard was willing to bend rules, maybe even break them, to win, which meant he might be vulnerable if they could prove he'd done something illegal. Her phone buzzed with a call from Officer Davis. Ms. Turner, I have an update. We traced the number Marcus called from the station. It was Richard Boswell's personal cell phone. So Boswell knew about the arrest immediately. Yes, and here's something else. We pulled Marcus's financial records as part of the investigation. He's been paying Richard Boswell a monthly retainer for the past 2 years. Not for any specific legal service, just a general retainer. Jessica frowned. Why would someone pay a lawyer a monthly fee if they weren't in legal trouble? That's what we're wondering. It suggests Marcus might have been anticipating needing legal help. Like he knew what he was doing to Emma was criminal and wanted a lawyer on standby. That's premeditation. That makes it worse, doesn't it? It certainly doesn't help his case. I'm passing this information to the prosecutor. They'll want to talk to Emma soon about giving a formal statement. After the call ended, Jessica felt a spark of hope. Marcus's own financial records showed he knew he was committing crimes. That would be powerful evidence. Emma woke up around 9 a.m., looking better than she had in months. Her bruises were starting to fade, and there was color in her cheeks again. I've been thinking, Emma said over breakfast in the hotel restaurant. I want to go back to work, back to the children's hospital. Sarah said my old position is still available if I want it. Jessica smiled. That's wonderful, Em. You loved that job. I did. And those kids need me. Emma's eyes were bright with determination. Marcus took so much from me. My confidence, my friends, my sense of self. But he can't take away my purpose. I'm good at helping children heal from trauma. And now that I've been through my own trauma, maybe I can help them even more. You're amazing, you know that? Emma blushed. I learned from the best. You've always been my hero, Jess. Even when we were kids. You were the brave one, the strong one. And now you've saved my life. We saved your life together, Jessica corrected. You made the choice to let me help. You made the choice to stand up to Richard on the phone yesterday. You're braver than you think. Later that day, Jessica's phone rang again. This time it was a number she recognized, the police station. Ms. Turner, this is Officer Davis. I need you and Emma to come down to the station. We have someone here who wants to talk to you. Who? Richard Boswell. Jessica's heart skipped. Is this some kind of trick? No trick. He came in voluntarily, asked to speak with you both. He says he has information that might change everything. Jessica looked at Emma, who had heard the conversation. It could be a trap, Jessica warned, but Emma squared her shoulders. Or it could be our chance to end this. Let's go. 45 minutes later, they sat in a conference room at the police station. Officer Davis and another detective were present. And across the table sat Richard Boswell. In person, Richard looked different than Jessica expected. He was in his late 40s, graying at the temples, with tired eyes behind expensive glasses. He looked defeated. Thank you for coming, Richard said quietly. I know you have no reason to trust me. You're right, Jessica said coldly. We don't. Richard nodded. I deserve that. I want to start by apologizing. The text message you received yesterday, that was sent by an associate of mine who thought he was helping. I didn't authorize it, but I also didn't stop it when I found out. That was wrong. Why are we here, Mr. Boswell? Emma asked. Richard took a deep breath. Because I can't do this anymore. I've spent 20 years being the kind of lawyer who helps guilty people avoid consequences. I've told myself it was about the law, about everyone deserving a defense. But the truth is, I've been helping bad people hurt good people and get away with it. He pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. This is Marcus Reed's file. Everything I know about him. Everything he's told me over the past 2 years. Officer Davis opened the folder and started reading. His expression grew darker with each page. Marcus came to me 2 years ago, Richard continued. He said he needed a lawyer on retainer because his wife was difficult, and he might need help with a divorce. But as our relationship developed, he told me more. He admitted to hitting Emma. He laughed about it, said she needed to be put in her place. He asked me how much evidence would be needed to convict him, so he'd know how careful to be. Emma gasped. Jessica's hands clenched into fists. I told myself it wasn't my place to judge, Richard said, his voice cracking. I told myself I was just his lawyer, not his conscience. But then yesterday, when Emma called me and I heard the strength in her voice, I realized something. I have a daughter. She's 23, just starting her career. And if someone ever treated her the way Marcus treated Emma. He stopped, composing himself. I couldn't live with myself if I helped Marcus get away with this. So you're turning on your client? Jessica asked skeptically. I'm doing what I should have done 2 years ago, reporting a crime. Richard looked at Emma. Mrs. Reed, in that folder are notes from every conversation I had with Marcus. Detailed admissions of abuse. Text messages he sent me bragging about controlling you. Financial records showing he paid me specifically to help him avoid prosecution if you ever went to the police. Officer Davis looked up from the folder, his eyes wide. Mr. Boswell, you realize this could destroy your career? You'll likely be disbarred for violating attorney-client privilege. I know. Richard smiled sadly. But maybe it's time. I've spent 2 decades defending people who don't deserve defending. Maybe I can spend the rest of my life doing something that actually matters. Emma was crying, but not tears of sadness. Tears of relief. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for doing the right thing. Richard reached across the table and gently took Emma's hand. I'm so sorry for what you went through, and I'm sorry I almost made it worse. You're incredibly brave, Emma. Your testimony, combined with this evidence, will put Marcus away for a long time. The courtroom was packed. Jessica sat in the front row right behind Emma, who was on the witness stand. Sarah was there too, along with Emma's parents who had flown in from Florida, and several of Emma's colleagues from the Children's Hospital. Marcus sat at the defense table with his new lawyer, a public defender who looked overwhelmed. Without Richard Boswell's help, Marcus had been unable to afford another high-powered attorney. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Amanda Chun, stood in front of Emma. Mrs. Reed, can you tell the court what happened on March 15th of this year? Emma's voice was steady. That was the day Marcus hit me for asking if I could visit my mother who was in the hospital. He said I was being selfish, that I cared more about my family than about him. He shoved me against the kitchen counter. And when I tried to leave, he grabbed my hair and threw me to the floor. She described incident after incident, her voice never wavering. Jessica watched the jury, 12 faces showing varying degrees of horror and sympathy. Then Amanda Chun played the security camera videos. The courtroom fell silent as everyone watched Marcus's abuse play out on the large screen. Several jurors were crying. One woman covered her mouth in shock. A man in the back row shook his head in disgust. When the videos ended, Amanda Chun called Richard Boswell to the stand. Richard testified about everything Marcus had told him, the admissions of abuse, the premeditation, the plans to avoid prosecution. He presented his notes, text messages, everything. Marcus's defense attorney tried to discredit Richard, suggesting he was lying to avoid his own legal troubles. But the evidence was too overwhelming. The videos didn't lie. Emma's medical records didn't lie. The confession Marcus had written didn't lie. After 3 days of testimony, the jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. We find the defendant, Marcus Reed, guilty on all counts. Emma collapsed into Jessica's arms, sobbing with relief. Behind them, Sarah cheered. Emma's mother wiped tears from her eyes. Marcus sat frozen at the defense table, his face pale. The judge looked at Marcus with cold contempt. Mr. Reed, you have been found guilty of multiple counts of domestic violence, assault, and attempted breaking and entering. Your actions show a pattern of deliberate, sustained abuse against someone who trusted and loved you. You used your physical strength and economic power to terrorize your wife, isolating her from friends and family, destroying her sense of self-worth. The judge paused. The law requires me to sentence you to a minimum of 3 years in prison. But given the severity and duration of your crimes, I'm sentencing you to the maximum, 15 years, with no possibility of parole for at least 7 years. Additionally, you will have a permanent restraining order prohibiting any contact with Emma Reed, and you must complete domestic violence counseling before any possibility of release. 15 years. Marcus would be in prison for 15 years. As the bailiff led Marcus away in handcuffs, he looked back at Emma one last time. But there was no remorse in his eyes, only anger. Emma didn't look away. She met his gaze steadily, showing him that she was no longer afraid. Jessica stood in Emma's art therapy room at the Children's Hospital, watching her sister work with a young girl who'd been through trauma. Emma was gentle and patient, helping the child express her feelings through painting. The little girl, who'd barely spoken since coming to the hospital, suddenly smiled as she painted a bright yellow sun. "That's beautiful," Emma said warmly. "Tell me about your son." "It's happy," the little girl said softly. "Like I'm going to be." Emma hugged her gently. "Yes, you are. You're so brave, and you're going to be so happy." Watching from the doorway, Jessica felt tears in her eyes. This was who Emma really was. Not the broken, scared woman Marcus had tried to make her, but a healer, a helper, someone who brought light into dark places. After the session, the sisters went to lunch at their favorite cafe downtown. "Sarah and I are getting an apartment together," Emma said over coffee. "She's going through a divorce too, ironically, and we thought it would be nice to be roommates. Plus, the house has too many bad memories." "That sounds perfect," Jessica said. "What about the house?" "Selling it." Marcus signed over full ownership as part of the divorce settlement. "The money will help me start fresh." Emma smiled. "I'm thinking about going back to school, getting my master's degree in art therapy. Maybe eventually starting my own practice." "You'll be amazing at that." Emma reached across the table and squeezed Jessica's hand. "I couldn't have done any of this without you. You saved me, Jess. You really did." "We saved each other," Jessica corrected. "You taught me that being strong isn't just about physical courage. It's about emotional courage too. About being vulnerable enough to ask for help. About finding your voice even when you're terrified." "What about you? Are you going back to the army?" Jessica had been thinking about that question for months. "Actually, no. I put in for an honorable discharge. It was approved last week." Emma's eyes widened. "Really? But you loved the military." "I did. But I realized something during all of this. I became a soldier because I wanted to protect people. And there are people right here who need protecting. Domestic violence victims who need advocates, who need someone to stand up for them the way I stood up for you. Jessica pulled out a brochure and slid it across the table. It showed a building with a sign reading, Safe Harbor, Domestic Violence Support Center. I'm starting a non-profit, Jessica explained. A place where abuse victims can get help, legal advice, counseling, temporary housing, job training, everything they need to escape and rebuild. Richard Boswell is actually helping. He's donating his time as a legal consultant, trying to make up for all the years he spent on the wrong side. Emma was crying again, but smiling through her tears. Jess, that's incredible. You're going to help so many people. We're going to help so many people, Jessica corrected. I was hoping you'd be willing to run the art therapy program. Lots of abuse survivors could benefit from your expertise. Are you serious? Completely serious. You're the strongest person I know, Em. You survived hell and came out the other side ready to help others. That's real strength. Emma threw her arms around her sister. Yes, I'll do it. We'll do it together. As they sat there in the cafe, two identical twins who'd been through darkness and found their way back to light, Jessica felt something she hadn't felt in months. Peace. Marcus was in prison. Emma was healing. And together, they were going to make sure other women didn't have to suffer the way Emma had suffered. 1 year after Marcus's arrest, Safe Harbor held its grand opening. The building was beautiful, painted in soft, welcoming colors, with comfortable furniture, private counseling rooms, and Emma's art therapy studio. Over 100 people attended the opening. Domestic violence survivors, community leaders, police officers, lawyers, and journalists. Officer Davis was there, along with several other officers who'd helped with Emma's case. Richard Boswell came too. He'd been disbarred as expected, but he'd started a new career as a victim's advocate, using his legal knowledge to help abuse survivors navigate the justice system. I spent 20 years making things worse, Richard told Jessica at the opening. Maybe I can spend the next 20 making things better. Emma gave a speech, her voice strong and clear as she addressed the crowd. I stand here today as a survivor. For months, I lived in fear, trapped in my own home, convinced I was worthless and deserved the abuse I suffered. But I was wrong. No one deserves to be hurt. No one deserves to live in fear. And no one has to stay silent. She looked at Jessica, who stood in the front row smiling with pride. My sister taught me that asking for help isn't weakness. It's courage. And fighting back isn't about revenge. It's about justice. Safe Harbor exists because we believe every person deserves to feel safe, to be treated with dignity, to live without fear. The crowd erupted in applause. After the ceremony, as Jessica and Emma stood together watching people tour the facility, Emma said quietly, "Do you think Marcus has any idea what he started? By hurting me, he set in motion a chain of events that's going to help hundreds of people." Jessica smiled. Good. Let that be his legacy. Not the fear he caused, but the strength and healing that came from standing up to him. A young woman approached them nervously. She was thin, with fading bruises on her arms and scared eyes that reminded Jessica so much of Emma a year ago. "Excuse me," the woman said softly. "I saw the news story about this place. About you. I need help. My boyfriend, She couldn't finish the sentence. Emma took the woman's hand gently. "You're safe now. You're in the right place. Come with me, and we'll figure this out together." As Emma led the woman away, Jessica watched her sister. Once broken, now whole. Once terrified, now fearless. Once a victim, now a survivor and a healer. And Jessica thought about all the women who would walk through Safe Harbor's doors in the years to come. All the lives that would be changed. All the families that would be healed. Marcus had tried to destroy Emma. Instead, he'd unleash something far more powerful than he could have imagined. Hope, courage, and two identical twins who would spend the rest of their lives making sure no woman had to face her abuser alone. Safe Harbor had grown beyond anyone's wildest dreams. They now had 3 locations across the state, had helped over 2,000 women escape abusive situations, and had become a model for similar programs across the country. Emma had earned her master's degree and published a book about healing from trauma through art. She traveled the country giving talks, inspiring other survivors to find their voices. Jessica had been featured in major news outlets as a champion for domestic violence victims. She'd testified before state legislatures, pushing for stronger protections and harsher penalties for abusers. And Marcus? He was still in prison, with at least 2 more years before he'd even be eligible for parole. Emma had heard through the grapevine that he'd been denied early release 3 times because he'd refused to take responsibility for his actions or complete his counseling. Some people never changed, but Emma had changed. She was thriving, happy, confident, surrounded by friends and meaningful work. She'd started dating again, taking things slow, learning to trust. She knew what red flags to look for now. She knew her own worth. And most importantly, she knew she was never alone. On the 5-year anniversary of Marcus's arrest, Jessica and Emma stood together at Safe Harbor's original location. They'd installed a memorial wall where survivors could hang painted tiles representing their journey from darkness to light. The wall was covered in colorful tiles, hundreds of them, each one telling a story of survival, of courage, of hope. Emma added a new tile she'd painted. It showed 2 identical figures holding hands, standing in sunshine. "For us," she said simply. Jessica put her arm around her sister's shoulders. "For us, and for every woman who finds the courage to swap fear for strength." They stood there together, 2 halves of one whole, looking at the wall of survivors and knowing that every single tile represented a life saved, a future reclaimed, a woman who refused to stay silent. Marcus had tried to break Emma. Instead, Emma, with Jessica by her side, had broken the cycle of abuse for thousands of women. And that, more than any prison sentence, was the ultimate justice.